Welcome to another episode of Zero Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally. And today I am so excited to have on a 41-year-old from Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada. His hockey journey has taken him to Canada, the USA, Italy, England, and Wales, and Scotland. He returns to the shed after episode 79 has amassed 993 goals, plays, or listens. He is a shed legend and a legend of British ice hockey, where he was a three-time champion as a player. He played 6 seasons and ran amok. One season had 59 points, 169 penalty minutes, and captained the Shed's second favorite team to the Guinness Book of World Records for most consecutive wins. And after that, transitioned to player coach, GM, and coach over the last 11 seasons. He has recruited some of the biggest dandies and favorite Shed guys in hockey. Welcome back to the Shed, Ryan Finnerty.
Well, what an intro. What an intro. Who's your first team then, if Cardiff your second?
The Kincardine Canucks, my under 11 team.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Okay.
So check out what I just got the boys with my latest jersey raffle. I got them custom mini sticks, and I got this one actually for myself, but it's got like their names and numbers on them too. So pretty excited. We just got to get our year-end thing go. I just Googled it. I Googled a company and found one in Bolton, Ontario, and they had them whipped up within a week. It was wild.
Really? Eh? Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, actually.
So now I just need the year-end party to get organized so I can give them to the little fellas, right?
Well, I imagine. So none of them listen to these then, or what? They're probably not allowed, are they?
I think there might be a couple listeners. Yeah. I think Evan might be listening and he might know what's coming. But anyways, I get into how we know each other. So you're returning after episode 79. You're almost at 1,000 people in the Shed.
Really? Where does that rank? Was Simsy the highest?
He's got the top 2, and they're like both have, a lot.
But I imagine he clicks on every day to
I'm not sure how that works. I think it's each individual. I don't think the same person re-listening counts, but I don't know how it works.
Too bad.
But you're almost at 1,000 folks in the Shed. I just think that's hilarious. But you're just outside the top 5 episodes ever. Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah. That's pretty good, man. I've done like 160.
We'll try to bump that up here.
Okay.
Hey, man, I don't coach anymore, so the gloves are a little bit more off.
I understand. And that's when you get really competitive, is when you don't have it in your life anymore, right? Like my job, there's like, you try and do good every day. There's no like championship at the end of the season, right? So you just you do the best you can every day. But like, to be really competitive, I kind of like, I like that they rank podcasts, but I also don't, because it's really not good for like my competitive spirit. But yeah, I'm trying to keep it just for fun, right?
You're always a little bit better when there's a leaderboard, you know.
Yeah, you're right. And you'll probably get me to number 1 in the UK.
Keeps you a little more honest. Yeah.
Anyways, I get into how we know each other. So that first episode, you played for a lot of teams in the UK. That's why I say you're a British legend. Like, you get fans from almost every team listening.
I played for 2, and then I've coached. I mean, I've coached in every country apart from Northern Ireland. Right. I didn't actually think of that until you wrapped off Wales, England, Scotland. I'm like,
yeah, Northern Ireland, Belfast is the only one, right?
Thanks a lot, Belfast.
Yeah. They don't come to the Shed either, punks. I've never really asked any of them though. I had Colin Shields on, that's about it. But yeah. Well, so Cardiff did just win. Were you there this weekend?
I was, yeah. I watched them. They played really well.
I didn't get to see it. I saw the last 2 minutes. But anywho, the George brothers, I saw afterwards. The George brothers are in with the current team. They were out and about with the trophy the day after.
I saw it. I was with Steve. I think just before the game, I walked over to his box, and yeah, I know him really well. I mean, Steve was over, when he first got into pharmaceutical game, he was in Manchester and stopped by, and they're never. It's never a bad time when you're around the George brothers.
No. And they said yesterday's antics would have been right up my alley. I was quite jealous over here in Kincardine, but it does warm my heart when people send me photos and videos of all the fun things happening in hockey,
Yeah, that's why I said I'm like even when they won it, I'm like I couldn't find the George brothers on the ice, and I'm like it just doesn't feel like the Devils won anything until Steve or Chris
Are
touch
on
the
the ice
trophy
with the team.
or kiss the guys, one of the two.
I'm
You know,
there. They definitely were kissing guys yesterday and were on the ice. I think I saw a photo.
I remember thinking, and then I saw that lanky little ginger come on the ice. I'm like, oh, he managed to get down. So I thought they might have stopped him. They upped the security, but he found his way through.
Well, I tell you, I see photos of them. I saw them at the playoff weekend. Those two look like very happy, healthy, in love young men.
Oh yeah, well, Steve's got a Canadian girl now.
Yeah, it looks like
Yeah.
Chris has a gal too, because they just
Yeah.
all look so happy in those photos I
Yeah,
see.
they were with them at the playoff finals weekend, that's a big step for the girls if they got into the finals weekend.
Right.
Usually the girls, yeah, usually they run amok on that weekend, but they brought them in, kept them in line.
Be a lot to handle. Yeah.
It would be a lot
That's
to
love
handle.
when you're willing to
There
get
is,
involved. But I'm sure they had a hoot because every time you're with Steve and Chris is like the best time of your life.
The best night of your life, followed by usually the worst morning of your life.
Yeah. I saw there with Dixon yesterday, and I guess someone broke the trophy, which brought back some memories of mine from junior B. We had to write a letter apologizing for breaking the trophy and so good memories. I saw you won it 2 times as a player, eh?
Yeah, when I was in Sheffield, we did it. We did the league twice, and then the playoffs once or twice. I can't remember, but I always said that the best trophy to win is the playoff one.
Because you win
'Cause
your last
you can
game of
win-
the year.
You can win the league and have to work the next day. It's not the same as you're done.
Yeah,
You're
it's
done.
over. Yeah,
Yeah.
you get to just have at it.
Yeah, exactly, and you're done.
Yeah, no, I never won the league or the playoffs, so I guess what do I know? But yeah, in Germany, winning your last game of the season is different than winning the league, right? And then you still got to gear up for playoffs and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Belfast would be kind of flying home with a bitter taste in their mouth, no?
I don't know. I mean, they were so good all year. I mean, they did the Challenge Cup, they did the league. It's tough to win all three.
Oh
but
yeah.
Cardiff were just solid, man. Cardiff were so good. I mean, I think after the first period, it was 2-0 or 2-1. I can't remember, and they had 4 shots on net, Cardiff. And the goals that they scored, like Besco had no chance. They were like, they were nice goals. But
Who had 4 shots on net? Cardiff did?
Cardiff did. Yeah. I mean, they were getting outshot like 28-12 at one point.
Matt Carruth had a good game then?
Yeah, but they did a good job. Like there wasn't a lot from it was a lot from the outside. But then they were like, I mean, their power play was on fire, Cardiff, and they just created good looks. I mean, they scored some nice goals.
Well, and because I'm such a social media buff these days, even though I don't really like it, but you tweeted about Fran, man, being the heart and soul at Cardiff, and I completely.
That's my guy. Yeah, that's my guy, Franny.
Yeah. So he was. I guess he would have ran the forwards, or what was he doing? Did you look?
Yeah, I think Franny did run. No, he was running the D.
And then DuPont was running the forwards.
I think so. Yeah, I think that was a makeup, but.
But yeah, Franny from his episode in the shed is like, you can just tell that he just does whatever the Cardiff Devils need, whatever role they put him in, he will do the best he can to help that team win, right?
Alongside his full-time job and family.
Yeah. Very supporting wife.
Pretty, he's one of the smartest guys in British ice hockey though. Like Neil Francis is like off the charts for like every team would benefit if they had a guy like that. And I mean, not only like on the business side of the game, but even the player side, like
the recruiting.
He's got a really good eye. Yeah, he's got a really good eye, and then even just down to like he knows all like the visas and stuff. Like he can
do it all. He can do everything.
Yeah. He's the guy that's literally done it all, and like I don't think he gets enough credit for like how much recruitment he did and how many phone calls he would make and. He has a really good eye for like even in today's game for what like what this league needs, like what a team needs over here. Like he can find a guy to college or East Coast League or Denmark. Like he just seems to he's got a pretty good knack for it.
Yeah, but I don't think you'll ever get him away from Cardiff. I think he lives and breathes the Devils.
Yeah, I don't think that's on anyone's agenda.
No, yeah, no,
Yeah,
he ain't going nowhere. He'll continue to serve the team however they ask him to, right? Just like Richie, captain. He's first year captain. He gets to raise a trophy. That's pretty cool.
is he? Yeah, I thought he was captain before, but I could be wrong.
Was there a season without Joey Martin other than this one?
Well, that's right too. He wore it. To be fair, I think he actually wore it when I was in Cardiff. I think he was a C for a bit of the year.
Well, he could have been a captain since then.
Yeah, it might like in between kind of Martin, showing up. But
And Morissette, I guess.
He's like Richie's kind of the guy when I'm working with our young British defensemen, because everybody, like, it's YouTube hockey now, right? With these young guys, and they at the end of the night they check how many points they had, and that's how well they played on a scale of 1 to 10.
Did you say YouTube hockey?
Yeah. And
what do you mean by that? Because I'm curious, because my kid's always watching the shit, and I'm like, that's not hockey.
Like highlight hockey, yeah, like highlight real hockey. They just show
like doing the Michigan shit and
yeah, like the highlight, yeah. So highlight hockey, that's kind of the Zegras stuff, and it's great, but it's not. There's a little bit more to the game, and especially for, like, we got a young British defenseman who's got so much upside, and I always say, like, you got to watch Richie, man. Like, that guy can play in any league, and it's not
any league.
Like 30 goals a year or 80 points a year. It's because he's good defensively. He's like, I said, like, you guys want to focus on this end without focusing on this end. And I said, there's not too many Hedmans in the world. So try to find that other top 5 role.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Richie can do everything. And the little things he does that nobody notices. I watched, what game was it? One of the games against Sheffield, and it was Cardiff Sheffield, and just watching the little plays you don't really notice when you're playing with them, but like when it's in their own end and he just kind of flips it out to the neutral zone and just all the pressure's off, right? And he, like, it wasn't always it was just the simple plays to relieve pressure or to put the team in a better spot that you don't realize. And then he'll just go down on one knee and just eat a puck from the blue line, right? Like, he'll be at the hash marks, it could be buzzing by his head, and he just goes down on one knee and just takes it.
He's so smart. I mean, he, like, his little corner escapes out, like, just how he goes back, even how he just goes back for the puck's different than a lot of guys. And
he makes it look simple.
Like, he's a machine, but he's not a big burly, like gonna muscle you off the puck guy. So you never really see Richie getting hit or even in like those one-on-one battles, because he's usually in and out of there before any of that happens. You're lucky if you can catch a little piece of him. But yeah, he's just one of those guys that you kind of just gotta like spotlight and watch him play, especially for young defensemen.
And it's, if you're not just watching him, he's the type of guy that, like, you might not notice watching a game because he's just doing everything so simple and right.
Usually a good thing for a D-man if nobody noticed you.
Exactly. Okay, we better keep going here. Other ways we know each other then is I've had a lot of your clan from your clan days on here.
My old guys, yeah.
Yeah, I really liked that core. I guess I never knew them really till I started the shed here, but really like all of them. And that's why I really admired your team that year.
Yeah, we had 4 years there, and every year we just kept growing and growing. And then my last year, it was kind of like a rebuilding year.
Yeah, because you lost like Mizey and Keither, right? And Saltz.
I lost everybody.
Frankie.
Yeah, and then we brought in a whole new crew. We brought a whole new crew in, but that was it turned out to be my last year in Glasgow. But then I took every one of those guys and brought them to Manchester, and we almost won the league in Manchester the next year.
I was looking at the research team got hot there, and your first year in Manchester there, that looked like a squad, eh?
Yeah. So that was kind of like my last year in Glasgow was a bit of a rebuilding year. We had some really good guys, but we were up and down,
Yeah. And sometimes it just doesn't click.
Yeah. And then I left there, went to Manchester, and I literally just took every guy with me.
So that's one of my questions. What happened there? Because every guy I've talked to that's been in Glasgow has basically said the day you were let go is like the day it all just fell apart.
I think they were just looking for a change. I think I've been there for 4 years. I think the owner they wanted to freshen
Being
it up.
competitive for 4 years was it was too
Yeah,
stressful.
yeah, that last year we finished, I don't know, 4th or 5th in the league, which was like
A
pretty
small
good 'cause-
step. Yeah. When you
yeah,
just
'cause-
lost your core of those dandies I was talking about, then you got to
yeah,
bring in new guys and it might take a year, right? To really gel.
I think, yeah, and I think when you're at like Sheffield, where they'll just pay for whatever they need, right? Like they'll just
Mhm.
buy it. But when you actually have to like go out there and have a little patience with a guy that's maybe a 2nd-year pro or even right out of college, or you know what I mean? Like sometimes it just doesn't click right away, but that guy could be horrible. I mean, I've seen guys go 0 goals in 20 games and then score 15 in their last 20. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, and then the season ends and they're like, well, he was, I'm not, this guy's not. And you're like, no, this guy is just on the trajectory. And you kind of keep him for another year. And then all of a sudden he's a 30-goal guy,
Yeah.
and
Well, that's one thing. I have background noise here. I don't know what's going on. That's one thing I always admired about Lordo was when him and I were talking one day and we were talking about a guy that was struggling. And he said, well, as the coach, is it not my job to turn his season around, to figure out what buttons to press to make him better, to make him a better player? Like, isn't that my job as a coach other than to bring in a new guy? And I was like, wow, I really like the way you do business.
yeah, I think that's it. I think even back then, it's a lot different than it is now, which we can talk about. But yeah, like you had guys that would be so hard on themselves, right? And then they bury themselves in their own hole, and you're like, hey, like calm down for one, like and and then now you kind of got the guys that just blame everything else around them.
Right.
Like that's the biggest difference I found. Back in the day, you'd have guys that would just beat themselves up so bad because
But like if you make a mistake and the other team scored, like I remember how upset I would get if a goal was my fault. There's a lot of guys like that.
You would get so like people would put so much pressure on themselves to be better than they're showing, and you would have to like be like, hey, like come on, like
Yeah,
like bring
just
them in
relax.
like,
Yeah.
like just like start doing the little things, like who gives a shit, right? Like calm down, and then the other guys nowadays, they blame everyone else. It's everyone else's fault while I'm not doing well, and that just creates that. Yeah,
Generational differences. Is that what we're getting at? Maybe.
massively.
Yeah.
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 We're mirroring society a little bit in the sports world.
Okay. But yeah, the guys you recruited, I was just curious how, like, of those core guys, how did it start? Who, like, because everybody, the way I'm chatting around in my shed is that everything is based off connections. So, like, did you get Keither? You got, and he had played with Arse, right? And Mizey had played with Keither. And so who did you get first? And then how did the dominoes start? Like, how do you end up with such a great core of good dudes?
It took 2 years to do it. So in my second year, and it was my second, third year. So I think Keither was a big one. I brought Frankie with me, Chris Frank with me.
Out of Cardiff.
Sheffield.
Oh, right.
Because I brought Frankie into Sheffield my last year there. Then I chased Keither all summer and finally got him to go. And he wanted to go because of that Scottish connection.
Yeah.
So I think he could have probably got back to Austria, or if he would have waited it out a little bit, but we gave him I think he had a pretty good deal there. And then, God, how did we, like we just.
Well, once you get a guy like that, right, it helps everything.
Yeah. Scott Pitt, we already had him from the year before, I think, or no. Actually, Scott Pitt, who I don't know if you've ever done. He's a really good guy. Brought him to Manchester too. Hell of a player, Ontario guy.
I don't know him.
He was. If you look him up, he was fantastic. 30-goal guy in our league. Probably.
I remember the name. I remember playing against him.
And I remember he was my last signing, and I had like X amount left in my budget. I had nothing left. Actually, I had an okay amount left, but not Scott Pitt money. He was in the DEL2 the year before, and looking to come across. And I had a place in Victoria, in Vancouver Island, and every year they have a thing called Summerfest, which is like a country music festival, and it's massive. Like it's the who's who go there, right?
That sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, and I had to talk to Pitter, but it was also the Saturday afternoon of Summerfest, so I had to balance the two.
Mm-hmm.
So, needless to say, I had X amount left in my budget. I'm phoning Pitter and I'm like, "Hey, buddy, I don't know. I've had a few pops here. Let's just get a deal done. What is it?" Listen, he's like, "I don't got a lot of time to negotiate. It's the end of the summer. Let's get something done." And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "What do you want? How much money do you want?" He's like, "Do you got this?" And it was the exact number I had left. And I'm like, "You'll do a deal right now?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah." I'm like, "All right, call it done." He's like, "You won't see any paperwork for a few days. I'm on the valley, but let's virtual handshake." And he's like, "Serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, no negotiation. You got it." And he
Perfect.
literally, yeah, it was like, "I want this." And he's like, I'm like, "You got it, man."
That's
that
and that's a good, then you probably had a good Saturday at the country concert, eh?
Yeah, I was like, "Hey, I'm done recruiting. I'm done." He was the last guy I wanted. We were kind of waiting him out.
He was a good skilled player, tall, lanky, left-handed shot, right?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, fast, and yeah, and I brought him to Manchester after. So yeah, no, we had it just, yeah, like we picked up Mizey from Sheffield. We had Alex Levitt.
Yeah.
We just had a number of guys. They're all kind of which year, because we went to the Champions League, and that was the second year. So that's when Levy showed up, I think, and
Yeah, that's right.
he was awesome. Like I could see how coaches didn't like Levy, but
I played against them for years in Germany, man, and we battled every year. But man, that guy'd flop on me. Like he'd flop like around the net and stuff. He'd dive, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like I'd seen some of the Germans doing that, but what are you doing, man?
Yeah, I remember I was talking to other guys, and it was like 50-50 with Levy. Like some guys would be like, "Oh, you have to stay as far away from this guy as possible," because I think he's a coach's nightmare if he doesn't like the coach. Like I think
he can run the best power plays I've ever seen, man. Yeah. When I would watch him in Germany, he would run amok. He'd be just going around the outside with his duck feet and just saucing passes into the middle for one-timers.
He was so good for us, and like I never had one issue with him at all. Like he knew it was his last. I think it was his last year, and then he decided to play one more. I think he enjoyed his time. His wife enjoyed their time. And then and we just were like, all right, let's go again. And I think he was there my last year in Glasgow. And then that was it. He retired after that.
I literally played against him everywhere. I even played against him in Denmark, Germany. Yeah. Yeah, his power plays were fun to watch though, because I was always liked watching that stuff.
He just controlled that half wall and never shot the puck all year.
Yeah, and then sometimes they set up this thing where he'd go behind the net and be doing his duck, and everybody was open. I'm like, how is everybody open? Every time he gets the puck, everybody's open. It doesn't make any sense.
And he can make plays. Yeah.
So anyways, the reason I asked you in the shed again and what inspired this was you put out the tweet about your time in the UK or something, and that you'd had whatever over a decade of lifetime of friends. So are you staying over in the UK, or
Yeah. So I'm going right to the general manager's role here, which has been on the books for a while. Probably, it was probably going to happen the season before COVID. And then I stayed on after COVID one more year. So it just like the coaching and the general managing and running the team, it just got so much that it was just time. It was time. Like even the coaching now, like you added hours, like you got to put in a lot of time with these guys now, a lot of work, and then balancing the general managing on the side and running the team. It just was too much with the young family. And I knew that this was I knew before the season, it would be my last season. And then, so
it would be more, because don't they do more video, more everything now?
You know what? It's just a different, like, I think it's like, you have to spend a lot of, like, you need to almost be a psychologist and a problem solver. And like, it's just, not everybody, but it's just a little like to get the most out of your team.
You got to do more.
Probably not far off what you're doing with your team. There's a lot of pepping up, and it's okay, and everything's
Yeah.
gonna be fine, and and it's a lot of like firefighting like that. Like you have to kind of be able to have that time for the guys to get it. And it's not the old day where guys just show up, you bark, and they do their thing, and it's a lot of like it's a lot more like to get the best. You really have to put in so much time. That's why you see these young guys are doing so well. Young coaches, man, are doing so well. The old guys are a little bit like still a little bit kind of, hey, like you're not walls, but they're just not quite as used to bringing guys in and having chats all the time about, hey, it's okay, like, well, you're not playing that bad. Your mind.
It's the opposite of the way it used to be.
Yeah, it's a little bit more like you have to kind of understand where they're coming from, and you're trying to get it, but it's a lot to do. And to be fair, it was just at that time, I'm like, you know what, like with everything else going on, like it was just so I knew I was going to go anyways, but then this year I was like, man, there's better guys out there for this job than I am right now. Like,
you think so, eh?
My old school, yeah, because I was still fairly old school. Like and I'm not saying that that's like the new age player, but you will get these guys, like, and they will continue to come. And when you do get kind of that guy, you're like, oh, okay, like the old, like little older school, a little bit, it's nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot more work. There's definitely a lot more work, and you have to want to have the time and be there and understand it. And so I think it's just time to split that role, because physically just didn't have the time. I mean, it was like I was out of the house at 6 a.m. and coming back at 7 p.m. and you're like, man, I didn't accomplish half of what I needed to do. And then with the young family, so it was just the right time. Like sometimes you just got to be like, hey, we all got a shelf life.
Well, and you know what? I actually, now that I'm thinking, I'm getting so much background noise here. I don't know why, but anyways, is you recruited all those shed guys, and I guess I actually don't know what it's like to play for you as a coach, but like the people you were recruiting were right up my alley for what I think would win championships. So I think if you have the budget to go recruit the character guys that probably don't need as much babysitting or back rubbing, I think, but then again, if the game's changed, you recruit different styles of people, then you need a different style coach, maybe, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's always good. I think you always got to freshen it up, and organizations that stay with the same personnel get pretty stale unless you're winning all the time. It can get pretty stale for the fan base, and you know what it's like over here. You win a game, you're a hero. You lose it, they got to get rid of you, and it's just the way it is in the UK. And I think for us too, just having somebody like a younger guy coming in that understands it and knows the league and the UK and the players, I think is going to have a huge benefit. And there might be some growing pains, or might not. You never know.
Yeah. Well, so here's the question then. You got to hire a coach now.
We do. Yeah. Yeah. So we've kind of got.
So what are you looking for here? What are we doing? You haven't interviews yet?
Yeah, I think we got a pretty good idea which way we're going to go. Obviously won't say anything just yet, but yeah, no, I think
I'll let you guys announce that the way you want. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we'll announce that, and then I'll make him come on here, and you can grill him.
I'd love to.
Yeah, you can vet him after we hire him, and then
I'm in.
I'll put a clause that if he doesn't pass this, and he's out.
Yeah. You got to pass the shed test to be allowed to coach the
one
store,
final
right?
hurdle. Yeah.
Okay then. So you're staying you're in Manchester right now. You're staying there all off season then?
We're lifers. Man, we have a house here. My kids are in school here.
How old are they again?
Well, I got just the one actually. Sorry, I got 4, turning 5 soon, and then we got like a 8-month-old. He should be working by now, but he's not. So yeah. Yeah, no, we're busy. Yeah, we're a busy household, but no, like we're here. Like we have no plans to move back home or anything. My wife's Swedish. We have no plans to move back home or anything.
Your wife's Swedish?
She is, yeah.
Where'd you meet her then? Let's have a love story. Because you
the
did,
love
the
story,
research
yeah.
team never said you went to Sweden.
Well, we did play Vecco in the Champions League, and that's where she's from. But that was just an odd coincidence, to be honest.
You'd already met her.
I'd already met her, yeah. So she worked in Seattle when I like I said, I lived in Victoria, and you used to when in Victoria you used to do, and it's I can't give up the secret sauce in case any of your dads want to learn, but when I was we were helping out with some like minor hockey in the summer, and the minor hockey dads had orchestrated this thing, and they'd been running this game on their wives for 5 years, where they created a fake stag. So they all created a fictional character who was getting married. So all these dads in their late 30s, 40s could get away from the weekend and go to Seattle, and they and they had like meetings about it too. Like it was a well orchestrated, no loose ends, and there was like 20 of these guys. These dads,
And they were all
like,
going to different stags.
They're all going to the same guy's stag, and the wife's like, I loosely remember that guy, and they're like, you know him. And so we are helping out the team. They're like, you guys want to go? I'm like, sure, yeah, let's go.
So I think that's before the Facebook and all the crap where they could just look up to say, who are you talking about again?
A little bit, yeah. Whatever. Yeah, never ended up going to a wedding once in 5 years, but I guess they just forgot about that. Yeah. So yeah, that was it. So the fake stag, and then I met her on a fake stag that we just jumped in. Remember Robin Gomez? Remember that name?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So I would imagine Gomer's still going to these fake stags.
So then you meet her at the stag, but then she ends up traveling with you all over the world then.
Yeah, later on. And then she was on a work visa in the US, and they had to reapply, and she did all like her schooling and masters there, and she was just kind of getting tired of the whole American thing, like and then was looking, I think, to go to Copenhagen to work. And I'm like, hey, what about Glasgow?
Right. Yeah.
The Copenhagen of Scotland. So yeah, and then
And now you got the busy household.
Now we got the busy household, and we're in Cheshire.
Cheshire.
Yeah, we're just outside of South Manchester.
Cheshire. Okay. Well, thanks for letting me come for lunch today to Cheshire.
There's the update. Yeah.
Okay. So then, I guess we'll find out who you guys are gonna get. I was just curious what you guys were looking for in a coach.
I like personally. I mean, I
actually thought you were going to reach out to the under 11 Kincardine Canucks coach that took an 0-3 team to the All Ontario Championships and lost a heartbreaker in the quarterfinals. But hey, that's fine. Man. I'll be here in my shed.
They well, yeah, you're on the short list now. But yeah, no, I mean, I look at it, and like when you look at all the guys that have had success and that have done well here, they have one thing in common: they've all played here.
Yeah,
they understand
know it. Yeah,
and you can go buy that experience, and experience costs money. And I mean, I know Scalds in Cardiff, and if a family comes here, or if it's a stopgap for a coach, they don't normally have success because it's just a weird league. Like some guys just get it and buy right into the weird shit that we do here, like the format and other guys.
Research teams got that on the notes to talk about. Yeah.
Some guys just kind of, don't, and it just doesn't fit in. And they're like, you know what? I tried it for a year and it just didn't work. Where I find like the players that come back and become coaches are they kind of get it, right? They're already bought in. They understand the work. They've seen it before. And I just find that they have success. And so, yeah, I think we're kind of leaning in that direction.
No, it makes sense. It took me at least a month or two of being in the season to understand the difference between Challenge Cup and league games. And, I thought we were doing good. And then all of a sudden our coach is losing his mind out us in practice. I'm like, we've been winning almost every game. They're like, but those were Challenge Cup games. I'm like, oh, yeah,
Yeah, no, it's yeah, it probably needs to be freshened up in one way or another, but there's just so many little things that the league can't do because you kind of need all 10 teams to be on the same page to be able to do it. And like a lot of the arenas only have a specific dates they can play. They just can't get ice time past that.
And yeah, I talked to Simsy about that, about the big arena teams can only get them certain days, and to play a best of 7 and traveling back and forth, it wouldn't make sense, right? Yeah, I don't know. I find the league it's a neat idea. It's different than anywhere else, but it's exhausting. And then, like you say, you don't win your last game of the season, or like I remember before I got there, Belfast had won like with a month or something left in a season, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's tough. I mean, normally it goes down to like if it's a 30-week season, usually 28, 29, 30 are pretty intense at the top.
Yeah.
But every now and again you have a year where a team just dominates. Like a team just dominates. And Belfast were pretty good this year. Sheffield ran them, towards the end. But they were just the better team all around. I'm probably half the budget of Sheffield.
Really?
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know what?
I don't think I'm letting any secrets out.
Well, you know what though, and it really pains me to say this because deep down for years when I left hockey, and my last 2 years of hockey was losing to the Sheffield Steelers by I think 2 points each season, was this hurts me to say. I think Sheffield Steelers are up there for one of my favorite teams now too, because they support the Shed. They retweet stuff. They put stuff on Instagram. They had Kit Kat Get that night. I see their fans showing up at games wearing my jerseys and t-shirts. And it's like,
yeah.
God, I hated you for so long. Why are you doing this to me?
That's probably the Simsy effect. I think everybody who hates Simsy just need to stay away from him. Because once you kind of get a little time with him, you're like, oh shit. I actually don't hate him as much as I thought,
That's exactly what happened.
And you just, but I mean, they're a beast, right? I don't know if you saw it today, but they have the 6th biggest attendance in all of Europe.
Really?
Yeah. Only 5 teams. And I think it's 6. Yeah. And then the UK is the 4th attended league in all of Europe overall.
Really?
Yeah. So we've climbed way up.
That's from this season's attendance?
Yeah. So that's off this season.
Okay, well then I'm going to bring this up because I just see stuff in that fake world of social media. But there were a lot of fans pissed off about the ticket prices this last weekend, and the seats were a lot emptier than I recall.
So they're, when you're like, when you just get to a point where like there is no justification, that like you just put your hand up and be like,
what? Like
it was a complete F up, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what we should have done. I feel like we should have just been like, whoa, this ticket price is way.
As soon as they heard the reaction, they should have just said, okay, hold on.
And there's a couple things. One, it's a family sport. You include families too. Obviously, the ticket price is going to be higher than it was 3 years ago or whenever the last one was. Just with normal inflation, you could kind of expect that there would be some added cost.
Yeah.
Because it would have been almost 3 years ago that we had one, right? Because of COVID. So, which is understandable. And then because of COVID, we had to push it another week so we could get all of our games in. But then we pushed it to the long weekend. And in the UK, the long weekends are like everything, right? That's when the kids go away. That's when the hotel prices go way up. I mean, everybody's traveling and getting out of Dodge, so all of entertainment goes high. So we, took it from a dead, like a weekend where you could get a 60, 70 pound hotel is now a 200 pound hotel night.
I gotcha.
So there is so many things. I said this, it was like, there were so many things that went against us. Sheffield, Nottingham not making it, right? So many things that went against us that were out of our control. But there was stuff that I think in our control, looking back, you're like, we can never, ever make this mistake again.
Yeah,
You know,
and I think of hockey, you know how I feel if you've listened to a few, is full arenas are way more fun to play in than half full arenas. And even Sheffield, you say they're getting that many fans. There were times like when at the start of the year, I guess in Cardiff, before we were good, or we weren't known as being good at the start of that season, you'd go to Sheffield and it wasn't full, it wasn't half full. And I didn't find that as much fun to play in than playing in a packed BBT.
No, they've really grown it. I mean, they've done a good job, growing that brand in the market. But
Well, their
like,
social media girl's really nailing it too, because she even got Kit Kat reaching out and everything over like us shooting the shit in our shed. Next thing you know, Kit Kat's reaching out to them. Pretty wild. And the social media gal's doing a heck of a job there, and Simsy.
No, they're good. And like you said, I mean, it was sad to see this weekend because I've only ever known it packed. I mean, they bring in the extra stands at the back, and it was sad to see. And it's easy to blame. It's easy to point the finger and blame after all the work's been done. But like the reality is that you just, as like the league, we just messed up, and it never happened again, and it won't happen again because and in hindsight, when we look back, it's probably good that Sheffield and Nottingham didn't get there because it might have justified the pricing if a bunch of fans showed up last second. So I'm a big believer things happen for a reason, and I think next year will hopefully be back to normality where
Okay. Now I got to get into this whole being a GM thing now, and not the GM and coach, because when you're the GM and coach, you are recruiting the guys you want to coach. So now that you're just going to be the GM, how much say does the coach get in the players?
200-300%.
Yeah, because then you can blame it on him if he fucks up.
Exactly. My job's to support. My job's to support, and be there. But a guy like when you're a coach, and trust me, I've had it all different ways. It's got to be your own show. Like you got to make your own mistakes. You got to, and my job's just to run cover for him, man. Do all the shit that occupies a coach's time that has nothing to do with winning and losing. Let me deal with all the paperwork and the housing and the sponsorships and try to get the people to watch their team play. His job's to make sure that team's playing and effective all day. And I think
those players are ready to go.
And they're ready to go. Yeah. And my job is just to clear the white noise for you and let you get out of your way. And I think that's everybody's like, oh, are you going to be able to step back? And I'm like, fuck, man. Yes.
Yeah.
Trust me. I mean, like I said, I'm a support network guy now. That's it. I'm not picking players. I'm not none of that. I'm not telling them how to break out of their zone or,
And I think that's the way it has to be. It's got to be the coach's picks, because if you're telling them who to take and then they're not gelling, well, whose fault is that, right?
Yeah, and that's what happens, right? It happens in Europe, right? They got the director of hockey who basically hands the coach the team and then, says, well, you didn't do a good enough job. And the guy's like, well, yeah.
I didn't like that guy. He doesn't play the way I want to, or he's not.
And that's always where it breaks down, because you got some guy that you hired and he's coming in saying, well, who the hell picked these three guys? And he's like, that was me. And, so it's not good.
I find it interesting now that I've been shooting the shit with different coaches around Europe and players and I guess GMs and managing directors and whatever you call them. But like, based on like what I hear after hours, on hours, is the timing of coaching vacancy being open changes things so much for these coaches, because like I've talked to Dan Seaman, he was available for a bit, and I've heard he would have and there's different guys that are available at different times of the season, and then all of a sudden they sign somewhere and then they could be there for the next 4 years, but then maybe they're available when you need a guy, right? It's the timing is very interesting when I've heard about the different situations that could have happened.
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate. I mean, I got the Sheffield job. I was pretty young. It was a big job as your first one to step into.
And you were a player coach.
Yeah, the first year, and then a coach. And
so
then,
Sheffield hired you as a player coach because they have the money to have a coach.
Yeah, but we're going back some years now, right? It wasn't
Yeah.
Tony, he owned the team like later that summer. But yeah, so I got that, and then I was only really unemployed for about 24 hours, and I got the Glasgow job. So it was a quick transition from Sheffield to Glasgow, and then obviously the Manchester thing happened, and I came here. So I've never really experienced the open market and getting agents to go, and this wasn't yeah, never had that, but I could imagine it's not easy. It's all timing there.
Yeah. I've talked like coaches that are in different countries every year. Their kids are going to different schools and different languages. It's wild
Yeah.
lifestyle, but you've been pretty consistent, but I guess
Yeah, I got no interest in that.
no.
Yeah.
So then, okay, so you were a player coach in Sheffield, and then was it like, because then you go to just coaching, but it looks like you could still be playing.
No, God, no.
No,
God,
you
no.
were done.
Done.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I mean, no. I still like.
From what I hear,
I'll,
what I hear is you played a hard game.
I'll I'll miss being on the ice because I still enjoyed being on the ice. I
Yeah.
think I would like. I still enjoyed jumping in the odd drill and just being out there. Right? Is this when you're just skating around, and I'll miss that part because I've been doing that for a long time. But yeah, no, it's they're fast. These guys are so fast now. These kids
Really?
are. I find there's a lot of speed out there. But the game's changed a little bit, I think. But
I,
we play in like the big blue tent, right? Our ice is tiny, so it's the exact same as the BBT. So
so would you have any players signed for next year?
this year already,
Yeah.
we only have our British guys signed,
Right.
and
And then it's up to the
and
coach to do the rest.
yeah, and we got Dallas Earhart is on a second year of his deal.
Okay.
So yeah, so he's kind of got a clean slate, which is nice.
Yeah, yeah, that is nice.
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask where my notes are here. Here we go. So the Manchester season then. So this is your last year coaching for now? For now,
No, it's
maybe?
not. This is it. We're done.
You're done coaching.
Yeah,
Done.
done.
Not coming back.
Well,
Okay.
you shouldn't. You never say never.
Right. Okay. Well, so this last season I saw you had an Adam Brady. He looks like he can play. He had 25 goals, 60 points, second year
Yeah,
pro.
yeah, good player. Really good player.
So it's tough
Yeah.
in Manchester to build a core though, right? Because if you have these guys that come in on a second year pro, put up big numbers, then is it not the big dogs trying to take your
So
guys?
that's the problem at the lower end when you're at the lower end of the scale is if you have a good year, you rebuild. If you have a bad year, you rebuild. If you have an okay year, you rebuild. So I mean, it is like we try to keep our guys. We still have like 3 or 4 guys have been with us for 4 or 5 years now, or 3 4 years, sorry. But yeah, it's a constant rebuilding, and that's what we have to do. That's what it is.
It is
It's
what it
hard.
is.
It's
Yeah.
hard to return players. It's
Well,
hard.
if
It's
they do
expensive.
really good, then they want to
They
get
go.
paid and go elsewhere. And if they
Exactly.
do not that well, then you want someone to try
I had
something else.
I had a British kid that was in the lower league in the EPL, and we took him for 2 years, and he scored 30 goals for me my second year, and before I could even sneeze after the season, he signed in Belfast.
Is
Like,
that the Kieran Long or whatever?
yeah, longer, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
saw that name. Yeah, it looked like he was part of your new core. That's what I was looking at. I was like, this first couple years you were in Manchester, you looked like you had a bit of a core of like real good players, and you were right
Yeah,
there.
we took like we had that Dane Byers, Jay Rosehill, like we were big and mean.
And
And
now you
then
have some Springer guy.
Springer, yeah, but I mean all those guys retired basically. I didn't really lose any. I lost a little bit. Glasgow the next year took a bunch of those guys back. So they was just yo-yoing back and forth. But yeah, and then Springs I had him my first year here, and then I brought him back last year, and yeah, but he's retired now too. Like we get a lot of guys that retire, right? Like
Yeah.
so you can't do anything when guys are done, they're done.
That
So
Rosehill battled hard though in the UK league, didn't he? I saw some videos
yeah,
of him really scrapping over there, and he He played a tough game for his
He was
career.
awesome. He was awesome. And you wouldn't know if he played in the SPHL or the NHL. He's just one of those guys. Showed up to work every day.
Just gave her.
Yeah, low maintenance. I mean, yeah, no, he was awesome.
And then the other guy I would have had on really early on in the shed time was Zach Sullivan. He looks like he played 36 games. Did he get hurt?
Yeah, he hurt his knee. Yeah, Sully. So he hurt his knee at the end of the year, and and he's just a steady British defenseman, right shot. You know, it's one of those guys that pretty dependable.
And then you also brought in that guy at the start of the season that hadn't played for like 3 years, Wade McLeod. He was only there for a bit.
Yeah, we played with like Mac and kind of was like it just didn't work. It was like the worst phone call you'd ever have to make. But I mean, we gave him a chance, and it just but then we got him into Norway. We let him hang around until we found him a job. You know, like we extended the housing, and I just didn't want to send him home. Like he wanted to come back, and it just didn't work. It just didn't work. And you know, it was a great idea. And then, you know, I mean, if you look at his numbers, you ever go look at like what he did in his career, it's crazy. And,
I think it's great that he got that opportunity to get back in the game and give it a whirl. And somebody like yourself gave him an opportunity to do that because, you know, after what he went through with I guess it was whatever brain tumor, right? Or something.
Right, yeah, brain cancer. Yeah. So
but at least he got to like give it a shot, get out there, and
he played, finish a year in Norway. So like his comeback, you know, his comeback. He got his comeback year. He
did get to play pro hockey again, right?
So so we got him over to Norway, and you know, but yeah, it's never an easy situation, you know. When it all works out, it's great, but when it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah. So then your goalies, the one guy is a year older than me, but Kashua, and the other one was Gin that you've had before.
Gin I had for a long time. He got his hip got all torn apart, but he was in Providence early in his career and did his one hip. Then he did his other hip here. He's done. He was done. So and the market was like pretty light. There wasn't a whole lot on the market, but I knew obviously Bakashua. I've known him for 100 years.
Yeah, I know him too.
He was in Slovakia and ready to go, and you know, he hadn't played, but he was ready to go and came in, and you know, he did a good job for us. I mean, he's like 38, 39.
Yeah, he's getting up there.
Phenomenal shape, but yeah, he was an unbelievable. I mean, he's like an A-class person. You know, you look at his resume. I think he was a first rounder to St. Louis, or
I think I remember him playing in St. Ouis with my buddy way back when. Like, way back.
No, he was great. He was awesome to have, and we had to bring in a third goalie just for practice because. You know, you
can't do too much at that age.
Couldn't do too much. Yeah, we had to rest him a little bit. So,
that part of hockey's changed too, though, where like the goalies just played every game in the UK league. Yeah,
we're starting to turn to like a 2-goalie league now.
Why is that?
It's just too much. I think it's just too much.
But don't you guys just ride your horses because it's about the league? Like, how do you not play the best goalie each night?
Well, guys are bringing in like a 1A, 1B. You know, a lot of guys are, and then there's a lot of good British goalies coming up too.
Is there?
Yeah, there's some good British goalies that are playing really well. So we got a kid who played about eight or 9 games this year, maybe more. Played well, gave us a chance to win every night.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. So there's a lot of young talent, a lot of young British talent coming up. Really, really young British talent.
I should ask you then, before I haven't talked to any real Cardiff guys since this happened, but you said Scald's come over and didn't really succeed, right? But they're in 3rd place and then they did win the playoffs. So like, I don't know, like what did you think when that all went down? You guys probably know more than me in my shed.
I think it was probably, again, it might've been like, I mean, I can't really contest to what's happened. Obviously they fired him like a month ago, right? Like with a month left in the season.
I think with like 2 games left in the regular season or something, or like a weekend or 2.
Yeah, it was something like that. And I don't know if it was just like they felt they're just coasting to the finish line, you know, because they
and they
couldn't
needed
move
a
up or
change.
down.
And yeah. And like, I know
And
Todd's a winner. Todd is not,
yeah,
he doesn't accept second place. He really doesn't. And I
so
agree with him. I hate it too.
so I don't know. I mean, whatever you want to say, it's kind of hard to say they weren't justified.
Now that they've
Yeah.
won. Yeah.
Now that they won, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not, yeah. So they just kind of, yeah, they just kind of like decided to pull the pin, I guess. And
It'd be interesting what they do next, and then like who's picking the team, right? Because then obviously they just won the playoffs. There's some players that have just played really well for them.
yeah, no, I would imagine they're going to come back pretty strong. And I don't know. I'd argue that the guy, that DuPont that finished the season, will be the guy that starts the next season.
Yeah, he did well if that's what he wants to do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what else do I got then? Can I ask in the interview process, like how when they find out the Manchester job is open, how many coaching resumes would come flying in through email or whatever other direction?
You get probably like 30, 40 different agents. And then because they're agents, I'm getting a lot of the same. I got different agents repping the same guy.
Really?
That a lot now. Oh yeah, like these they pick them.
They
up
all
now.
say like, "Okay, you're with me if I get you the job," right?
Yeah. Hey, if I get you this job, yeah, sure, yeah. And every player's like, yeah, whatever, buddy. I don't care. Let me know how it goes. Yeah. And then so no, we get quite a few, but I mean, you get some that right away.
But you would know your short list. You know what you're looking for, right? Like you said.
I think every team has a pretty good idea before they even start the process of what it is they're looking for and what they think is best. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I understand now. Okay. So then you work with I don't know what else I got now. Do you know? No.
No, I don't know anything.
I don't either. Other than, so what do you think the UK league does then to get, I would say, more parity, that it's not the same three teams at the top of the league every year and than the rest? Sorry, Nottingham. I didn't mean you guys. I just mean you're not in the top three anymore.
No, our maybe not in the top four anymore. Those guys.
Yeah.
It's so hard because like you look at like Manchester, man, we average like 1,500 fans.
Right.
Sheffield averages 7,000, whatever, 6,400. Right now, there's like we used to do it where we did conferencing, and we went away from that, and that allowed everybody to kind of play the but it wasn't a true indication. But then you could argue and say, well, neither is the NHL. Like the Maple Leafs got to go against Tampa, Florida, where at my
it used to drive me nuts though when Glasgow was playing Dundee and Fife.
Exactly. But then there's parity, right? There you kind of got some parity now, but is it accurate? No.
Right.
But then again, you could compare it to the NHL and go, well, how are the Oilers and the Maple Leafs? One's got LA and the other guy's got Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And so it's not exactly true in the NHL either because of the conferencing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but other than that, I mean, you can't do that. You can't do anything where you can't enforce it. Like we tried to do the salary cap this year. It's a joke.
Right.
Like it's like, but yeah, like if you can't enforce it, then teams are going to do what they're going to do. And I'm like, no salary cap, just, spend what you're going to spend because you're going to do it anyway. It's always going to be hard in Europe. You know that.
And every league kind of gets to a point where second league in Germany was kind of, when I was there's certain teams that are always at the top, certain teams in the middle, and certain teams at the bottom. And it was the same in the DL. It was the same in the second league. And it seems like almost every league in Europe is that way. I bet you the Swiss A League is always the same sort of teams. Yeah. And then there's a team that'll get hot, right? Like Dundee did at the end of the year. And then they make it to the playoff weekend and they were playing well.
That's what makes it interesting now. But I would say like the parity in our league is pretty good. I mean, I think everybody, apart from a couple teams, beat everybody this year.
Right.
There is no easy games anymore. Like even if you're looking to fight for Manchester this year, we beat everybody. Like, it wasn't, you can't guarantee.
There's no gimmies anywhere. Yeah.
No. So you got that going for us. I think it's just up to us smaller teams to continue to find different revenue streams, and we have to do things different to compete. We can't just go throw money at everything.
Yeah.
Even for, and the fan base is like, well, you have to throw money. But everything in sports is run as a business. Otherwise, you
Or
can,
otherwise you go tits up and then all of a
you go,
sudden all those players are
exactly,
screwed. You might have promised the
exactly.
money, but they ain't getting it.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun when you got a year or two of the guy throwing a bunch of dough at it. And then when he says, well, I'm done doing this, uh, you're left holding nothing, like, so the business has to keep growing and growing and growing. And eventually, hopefully you
So
have a
then
couple
what's the
years.
future of Manchester hockey hold then? If you're the GM and you're in that building and you're getting 1,500 fans, is there any other buildings? There's that huge one I've been to a
No.
UFC fight at. Like, what do you
Yeah,
do?
no, the MEN, no, I mean, you got to grow it, right? There's 2,300 seats in there, and you got to get, or 2,300 capacity. You want to get to 2,300. That puts you in a nice position. The other thing is, like, obviously we work with our arena pretty closely. We have to potentially invest in the arena to
Yeah.
make it a better fan journey, but you are limited to what you can do. But also, I would argue that it's one of the greatest spots to go watch professional sports. You're literally on top of it.
And I love the big blue
Yeah.
tent, and it's just like it. I
Yeah.
think it's a great for the
You know,
fans that they're right
you-
there, right
You can
at it.
still stand on the glass. Like I always say, like, why would you not stand on the glass and watch a game at this level? You can't get close to anything in most venues like that close. So yeah, it is. I mean, we've got huge obstacles, but then at the end of the day, it's like if all you do is focus on the shit, and
Right.
you never improve. And remember, a lot of the people coming to their first Manchester Storm game, they're not exactly, they didn't walk out of Madison Square Garden or Rogers Center, Edmonton. You know what I mean? Like, this is their first game. They
But
don't.
I personally think seeing games on TV is kind of boring. And when you
I
see
agree.
games live and you can stand right at the glass, when I go watch a minor hockey game or I go watch a senior A game around here or whatever hockey, if I can stand at the glass, that is a
Yeah.
whole different atmosphere than standing way up in the press boxes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, 'cause you watch it up high, everything's slow.
Oh,
Everything,
boring.
even NHL, yeah, like you get high up, you're like, oh man. But then when you get low, you're like, oh wow. Like, okay, yeah, okay, I get it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of our goal, man. Like, I think we're gonna have to invest in the rink, which you never want to do. Never want to invest in your rental house, but for we just for the fan journey, right? We just got to make it a better spot and improve every year.
Oh, I got one more thing before I
Yeah.
shut her down, though, is I am having a golf tournament June 25th, King Ainsdale Golf Course right here in Kincardine, folks. And so far, I got 11 foursomes registered. So if you want a spot, get registered. It's June 25th, Saturday, live band after, roast beef dinner. Going to be a time, 2
Really?
p.m. shotgun. You got to register at aleshockeytales.com. Same place you can buy shirts and hats and clothes and all that stuff, right?
That's awesome. How much is it? How much is it for the foursome?
It's 150 Canadian a player. And that gets you there's prizes too, or we're working at it. Kinda. It's your cart, 18 holes, dinner, and the live band. And then if we make some money, we're gonna donate to some charities. We just gotta lock down which ones.
You got a beer card out there?
There will be, yes.
I might be in the UK.
Oh, we have those here. Yeah, I'd actually know that. And they prefer walking, don't they, in the UK?
I know. I say
I
talk
went to a
mine all the
Devils
time.
golf tournament and they were making me walk. And I'm like, I would rather not golf. Honestly, I hate walking.
I remember we did that too, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm in good enough shape to walk 18 holes. I mean, I can go play. I can play 3 and 3. I don't think I can do 18.
That's different. You get to the ball, if you walked up a hill, you're breathing heavily, right?
Yeah.
And now you want me to hit it? I got nowhere to put my beer. It's I got to sometimes carry my bag unless I put it on the rollers. Man, that's just
my favorite's when you go to a course and you're like, hey, or it starts like pouring out and you're like, well, we'll just get to the turn and we'll head in and see how it goes, right? And then you're like, oh shit, the turn is 4 miles from the clubhouse. Like they don't bring you back.
Oh, they don't bring you back because
Oh, no.
everywhere in North America you stop in for refreshments after that.
Yeah. None of that. No, you're like, yeah, we we're like 3.5 miles away from the clubhouse.
I think it was like it wasn't really a drinking culture at the golf courses in the UK, but at the hockey arenas it was.
School. No, yeah, exactly. It's very old school. I said, like, somebody's got to change this. The first course that gets in and changes it, I think they're going to win a watch, man.
Right.
Get the beer cart.
Well,
People out there.
People might be able to learn from Ainsdale Golf Course, June 25th. Just respect their golf course, and you can have as much fun as you want as long as you respect the golf course, and just come for a fun time. Register at ailshockeytales.com, folks. Show you how to do it. And like literally right down the road from the golf course is one of the nicest beaches, I would say, in Canada or that I've seen. So you can do that before and after golf, folks. It's not a bad weekend to come to Kincard on June 25th. Okay. Serious question. Okay. I know I've peppered you with some serious ones. So here we go. If you were going to Chippy Lane with the George brothers right now with a trophy, what would you order?
Ooh, what time is it?
You've probably been out all day. The day after winning it, you've been out all day just running amok, and it's been a full day, and it's bedtime.
What's that one? It's I think it's the third or fourth one in on the right. That was my go-to.
Which way are we coming from on the right?
Coming from O'Neill's.
Oh, yeah, okay. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, O'Neill's is a good spot too.
Yeah. We used to do O'Neill's. We did like a little trifecta.
But what are you ordering? What are you getting? A kebab?
Kebab.
Donair, like
Donair kebab with the
gyro meat or whatever, like Donair meat, like the.
Yeah, I think so. Right off the.
Oh yeah.
Then,
Okay.
With the garlic sauce.
Yeah, garlic sauce.
Good
Okay,
night.
you're talking my language. I like what you're doing.
Yeah,
always respect. I respected your recruiting too, and your food choices. Way to go.
In my 3 a.m. food calls. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think it's probably time to go back to the real world.
No, man. Thank you.
And this has been another episode of Zero Ales and Hockey Tales with Finner and Wally.